Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, and I'm pretty excited today to talk to listener Jessica, coming all the way from Chicago, and I'm really excited to talk to her because she is preparing for the Princess Half Marathon coming up next month, and you've got to be the one person I know that is a lot colder than I was when I was out running for the marathon weekend here, and it was 50 and rainy, but what's it been like back there?
Well, today we had some good weather. It was snowing, and it was in the low 30s. But a few weeks ago, it was, we had some negative temperatures and some single digits. So it's been a little challenging.
Well, my hat's off to you to be able to be out there running like that. And once again, I want to welcome you to the show. I really appreciate you coming on. And today we are going to talk about your guys' experience on Disney Cruise Line in the last cruise you took, which was last March, I believe.
Yeah, it was actually, our cruise left on January 29th.
Okay.
So it was kind of early February.
Okay.
Late January.
Okay. Well, before we get talking about the cruise, what got you into Disney? Have you always been a Disney fan, or where did the Disney side of you come out?
Sure. So I kind of grew up going to Disney World. My grandmother lived in Sarasota, Florida when I was growing up. So we would go down and visit her over spring break, and we'd, take a day trip to Disney World. And then we stayed in the resorts a few times growing up. Then my mom and I, when I was in high school, we'd take girls' weekends, for a long weekend, and do the parks and eat and have a great time. And then I went to school down just outside of Orlando at Rollins College. So
okay.
I was an annual pass holder for a year.
Wow.
So I visited the parks a lot. And so this cruise we went on last year. This was our second Disney cruise.
Okay. And what was the first one you guys went on? How far apart was it?
So our first one was in the end of February of 2016.
Okay.
And this last cruise was end of January of 2017. So
okay.
Just about a year.
And what kind of, obviously you're a Disney fan, so what kind of what made you gravitate towards Disney Cruise Line and wanted to try to give that a shot?
Well, I love the parks. I have such a nostalgic attachment to Disney World and pretty much all things Disney. And I've honestly, cruising, I never thought I wasn't sure if it was going to really be for me, but I thought if any cruise line would be for me, it would be Disney. So we gave it a shot, and I totally fell in love with it.
The last one that we did last March, we were on the Magic also, and we met this guy at the sail away party. I'll never forget this. Just like every now and then you just meet people, and you have these things kind of cemented in your brain. And he came up and he's like, "Is this your guys' first Disney cruise?" I was like, "Nah, this is the third one we've been on." And he goes, "I love it. I tell you what, you go into the parks, that's work, but this is a vacation." And then he just kind of stumbled off and was just dancing. And I don't know why that sticks in my brain, but whenever I think about Disney and I think about Disney Cruise Line, I think about him because this is a vacation. So
oh, totally.
Yeah. So you guys did the Magic as well, and this was a 5-day Western Caribbean.
Yep.
And why did you decide to do that cruise, or why did you pick that one?
So we wanted, I think our first cruise in 2016, it was a 4-night Bahamian cruise on the Dream. And we wanted to try one of the classic ships just to get something different.
Okay. And
we love to go on vacation in the winter because we don't have kids. It's just my husband and I, so we don't have to work around school schedules. And Chicago can be pretty cold. So it's, I'd much prefer to travel when it's cold here and go somewhere warm. And we got a pretty good deal on the 5-night Western Caribbean cruise, in the winter. So it was kind of a win-win.
Yeah, when we looked at it last year, I think the 5-day out of Miami, which is the one that we did, and we did it around spring break, was cheaper than most of the 4 days and about on par with the 3 days at a Port Canaveral at the same time. So sailing out of Miami, it seems, just looking at it historically, is you can get a little bit more out of it, it seems like, than Port Canaveral.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So you guys flew down to Miami. Did you fly down to Miami? Did you fly down to Orlando and spend some time in the parks, or what'd you guys do?
Yeah, so we flew down to Miami the day before.
Okay.
We flew down in the morning, and then we spent the day just kind of walking around the South Beach area. We were staying in a hotel 3 blocks kind of off of the main street in South Beach. Mm-hmm. We wandered around, we hung out at the beach, we tried some great food. We had a great, if anyone is in Miami, for a cruise or just there for vacation, we had an awesome meal at Naked Taco. They had great margaritas and great tacos, and it had a really fun atmosphere.
Is that right down on South Beach?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good tip there. And then how did you guys, did you have a hard time booking a hotel when you set that up? Do you remember how far out you booked? Because when we did it out of Miami, I was looking at it about 6 months out, and a lot of the stuff that was near the port seemed to be booked up.
Yeah, it was actually, we booked the hotel using Chase reward points.
Okay.
But I totally noticed that it was super expensive. All the hotels by South Beach are really expensive. Mm-hmm. And I've heard that, it's an expensive area. So we probably booked maybe 6 months. No, maybe not 6 months, maybe 3 or 4 months out. And I did not know this when we kind of decided to go to Miami, but that was also the Sunday the cruise left was the Miami Marathon.
Oh.
So that was also probably why, hotels were a little bit more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably a lot of people down there for that.
Yeah.
When we did it, there was I can't remember what convention it was, but there was a huge convention. So everything around the airport and the ports were booked up probably about 3 to 4 months out. So luckily we got a room, but
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe something to think about if you're sailing out of Miami, because it is a major metropolitan area. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Maybe once you take a look at, or once you've got that sailing date booked up, start thinking about where you might want to stay. Mm-hmm. It might be a little tougher than trying to find a place in Port Canaveral or even Orlando.
Right.
Yeah.
But the great thing about Miami though is that I think we took an Uber from the airport. It was fairly quick and cheap, and then the Ubers from the hotel to out to the port were, I think our Uber was around 20 minutes and $15. So it seems like Miami's a really easy place to get around.
Yeah, that's a great tip. We kind of did the same thing too. So don't feel. I guess the thing that we found out was we even got out and we just took a taxi cab back to the airport to pick up our rental car after the cruise, and I think there's a fixed fare on the taxi cabs from the port to the airport. So don't feel like you have to, and I'm not telling anybody not to use Disney transportation, but there's a lot of different options there that you can use that might be a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's what you guys used Uber getting to the port. Did you have any, do you remember the check-in process? How did that go? Was it pretty smooth?
It was pretty smooth, but the port of Miami is definitely, I felt that it was it felt smaller than Port Canaveral. Uh-huh. The check-in process, while it moved, it did feel a little bit more hectic. It felt a lot more crowded, and a lot of people were waiting around, and I think some people were sitting on the ground. But overall, check-in went pretty smoothly, and there were no delays in boarding, so we were happy about that.
Awesome. And so what do you guys tend to do when you get on board? What do you guys do first when you first get on board?
So we're big eaters. So when we first got on board, we went straight to Carioca's, which is one of the main dining rooms. And they had a great buffet lunch with all different kinds of seafood and hot entrees and salad and bread rolls and, you name it, and a ton of desserts. So we really enjoyed our first meal 10 minutes into the cruise.
So I didn't realize that they open up like Carioca's and stuff like that. Was it crowded in there versus like trying to go to Cabanas in the back?
So I've read a couple of blogs, and from what I've read, the main dining rooms are not as crowded as Cabanas.
Okay.
So we've actually never gone up to Cabanas for that first meal. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to compare, but it was really easy for us to get a seat. The buffet lines were not long. We kind of zipped right through. So it was a good experience.
Well, cool. That's a good tip. I didn't even know that you could do that. So
Yeah.
learn something new every day. Awesome. So you guys went to karaoke, and then what type of cabin did you guys book on this trip?
So we booked a veranda cabin. When we booked the cabins, it was actually only, I think we booked maybe 2 months out, and the verandas were only, I want to say like $75 more than the Ocean View staterooms.
Wow.
So I felt like we got a pretty good deal.
Oh, definitely. So what did you think of the cabin? This is the second time you guys stayed in a veranda, because you stayed in a veranda the first time too, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what did you guys think of your cabin then?
It always amazes me how much space there are in these Disney cabins. I've talked to other people who've, cruising on other cruise lines, and they talk about how compact everything is. But I've never felt, claustrophobic in our stateroom. It seems to be, laid out really well, and there's a ton of great details. Like I love how the beds are higher, so you can stick your suitcases and extra luggage, under the bed. That was really cool. And it's, having a veranda stateroom is so nice. It's my husband, if he had it his way, he would live on the veranda. He'd get all of his meals brought in, and he would not leave.
Well, the view's nice. There's no place else to go. You might as well stay here.
Right.
Yeah.
And we always book in one of the aft staterooms at the back of the ship.
Okay.
And I've heard we've never stayed anywhere. We've never booked anywhere else, but I always love when you're going to sleep at night, you kind of feel it's almost like this little like motor running.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you feel the ship kind of just moving, and it is so relaxing. It's like my happy place.
Yeah. I don't think there's a better place to sleep than on a ship, do you? I mean,
I do not.
Yeah, you just sleep so well. I don't know if it's like the motion of the ship or just the hum of the motor, which is it kind of you kind of get a little bit of that vibration. I don't know what it is, but I love it too. So, well, awesome. Well, let's talk about food, because I heard that you guys are foodies. You like food.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do? So without having kids, do you gravitate towards the early or the late? What do you guys do that way as far as your dining booking?
So we've only done the late seating, and that works out really well actually.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to eat breakfast early, and then have lunch maybe around noon, and then if we're hungry, my husband almost always gets like a cheeseburger or chicken fingers in between lunch and dinner. So we're never hungry on the cruise.
Right. I always end up getting a couple of pieces of that pizza, I guess, with our little guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's a pizza fan, so I think their pizza's actually pretty good on the boat.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And I've got pretty high standards for pizza.
Yeah, well, coming from Chicago, definitely. Chicago and New York, you definitely have higher standards than the rest of us, I think. But
yeah.
Okay, so you do the late night dining, and then being it's just you and your husband. How's that work as far as pairing you up with other passengers when you dine in the main dining rooms? Or have you usually been paired up with somebody, or how's that been?
So the first time we cruised, we booked our cruise about 3 weeks out. So we were put at our own table, just the two of us.
Uh-huh.
But this past time, we were put with 3 other couples, and Disney did it so well. They put us with 3 other couples that were our same age. No one had kids yet, and I still keep in contact with a few of those people that we met on that cruise. So that was actually one of the highlights. And I was not expecting on this cruise to get paired up with other people. But that was one of the highlights, actually, of the cruise, was meeting other people.
Did you end up doing some things with them throughout the rest of the cruise then, too? Maybe around the ship on the sea days? Or did you see them around, I guess?
Yeah, we snorkeled with one couple. And a bunch of us went down and did one of the late night game shows. And I think we did trivia together. So we actually did a lot of activities as a group. I would love it if that would be the case for cruises going forward, but I doubt I'll get that lucky. But it was fun to have friends on board.
Oh, definitely. The first one we did it with my parents, so we just had a big table. But the second one we did up in Norway, they paired us with a family whose 2 boys were basically the same age as ours, and kind of just like you were saying, kind of the similar backgrounds. And we really kind of bonded with them, and So I still email back and forth with the dad, John. Every now and then he's come on a couple times. So yeah, it's kind of fun when you have those experiences to kind of carry it forward too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So how about have you guys been to Palo or Remy then, or do you just do the main dining rooms usually?
Yeah. So the last 2 cruises we did do Palo, and we loved it. It seems so worth the money, the extra money you spend. We did Palo both times on Pirate Night. So I've never tried the Pirate menu, but yeah, Palo really exceeded our expectations both times. You know, we both love Italian food, and we had a really, really great meal with some really good wine, and the servers are so attentive, and they're fabulous.
Yeah, and there's something about sitting at the back of the ship with the windows back there and being able to look out as you're kind of sailing along too. It's kind of a magical place.
Yes.
Did you do the is it the chocolate souffle? Am I saying that right? The dessert?
We have.
Yeah.
Yes. And I don't know. So after our first cruise, we got that email that says, welcome to the Castaway Club, and they actually sent us the recipe for the chocolate souffle.
Really?
So we make it on occasion. It's never quite as good as the way Palo does it.
Uh-huh.
So, but it's really fun to make at home too.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about where you guys stayed, and we talked about eating. Any other any thoughts on cabanas at all? Or
so, if I were to have dreams about Disney Cruise Line, I love some Mickey waffles in the morning. And those you get at cabanas. Breakfast. Oh my gosh, if there was breakfast all day from cabanas, I would be all for that. The breakfast is so good. Yeah,
Cabanas is amazing. And we found the last 2 that we've done, just from a tip that we picked up, was that's what we do on the last day too, rather than trying to get up early, because we've always been on the early.
Right.
Yeah,
the 6:15 or so.
Yeah, the early seating. So that last day they want you down there early, and so we've just taken our time and got down to Cabanas the last day, and that's kind of the last chance to get your Mickey waffle, I guess, before you head home. Yeah. Have you guys done that before?
We have not, but on our next cruise, that is definitely our plan.
Yeah, I think it works out pretty good. So we talked about boarding, we talked about the cabin, staying in a veranda, and some of you guys' favorite dining experiences. Let's talk about the sea days then. What do you guys like to do on sea days?
If it was up to my husband, we would, sit by the pool or on the veranda and read books and listen to music and, just relax. But I'm much more of the person that likes to do activities, and I like to stay busy.
Uh-huh.
So let's see, the first sea day, I think we booked the stem to stern wine tasting.
Yeah. How was that?
And that was awesome. I think it was something like $15 to $20 per person. And you ended up getting about 6 glasses of wine.
Wow.
So kind of too much to drink in an hour-long sitting, at least for us. But the person that was kind of giving the wine tasting seminar was super knowledgeable, and it was a really fun kind of afternoon activity.
So your husband likes to hang out. You like to get out and do. So you've wine tasted. Have you done any of the other things on board, like the trivia or
yes,
drawing classes? I found that I loved going to the little drawing classes that they do.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I love. So the drawing classes are one of my favorite. I remember when Hollywood Studios used to offer that. They used to have like an art of animation, and maybe that's not what it's called, but they used to have drawing classes like all day long, but they've recently taken that away at Disney World. So it's really nice that they still offer that on the cruises. Uh-huh. So we'll both go to the drawing classes. I love going to the fitness center actually, because they offer like spinning classes and yoga classes and Pilates. So that is really fun. Especially the gym is the fitness center is at the front of the ship, mm-hmm. I think. So if you're kind of on a bike or on a treadmill, you're looking out over the ocean, and you really cannot beat that view.
No, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so great. But actually, my favorite activity that we did, it was the Art of the Theme Show tour.
Oh.
Yeah. So that it's a tour of the ship, and the tour guides give kind of a brief history on how the ship was built. And they go into, little details that you may not notice about, how it was designed, or, why things look the way they do. And it gives you a really great appreciation for all of the style and the details that went into creating the ship. So I definitely recommend that. That was one of the highlights of our cruise.
So was that an actual where you walked around the ship and they showed you things kind of tour?
Yeah.
I did something similar to that, but it was just down in I don't want to call it the Snuggly Duckling, but in the sports bar.
Oh, what is it?
Oh,
yeah,
on the
yeah.
Magic. I'm totally drawing a blank, but they had like
Gills.
Oh, Gills, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was like they were talking about Imagineering, and one of the things that they talked about, it was mostly about the Disney parks, but the one thing they talked about the Disney ships, and I thought this was so cool, was they do the forced perspective in the lobby, so the kids clubs are on the 5th floor, and if you look at it, the 5th floor is actually shorter than the 4th, and it makes the kids feel bigger.
Oh, that is so cool.
I thought that was so cool. So it was kind of,
amazing.
it was kind of their way to make the kids feel bigger by making the ceilings just a little bit shorter on the 5th. So next time, or on your next cruise, when you guys are on the 5th, well, actually, I'm not sure. You guys are going to be on the Dream, and I haven't been on the Dream before, so I'm not sure what deck the kids clubs are on. But yeah, you might have to check that out. Well, that's
definitely
that's a cool tour. Did you have to sign up? Did you sign up for that once you got on the ship? Then
I think that was just a show up at 2:00 on a Monday.
Okay.
Type of activity. So that was you can just show up.
Do you find yourself using the app more, or do you find yourself using the paper navigators that they leave in your room?
So maybe this was just on the last cruise we were on, but I noticed that there was a lot more activities on the app than there was listed. Yeah, than there was listed in the paper navigator.
Okay.
So it was nice to have the navigator sort of in front of you, the night before a sea day, so you could kind of map out where you wanted to go. But I think it is really cool to go. I love the feature on the app where you can go in and you can save activities to your list of favorites, and then when it's time for that activity, about 15 minutes before, you'll get a notification. So that kind of helps keep you on schedule, or it helps you not to miss the things that you really want to see.
Yeah, I found myself in the last time doing that too. Like the first night, I think the kids went to the kids club, so my wife and I were just kind of scrolling through, having a glass of wine, and I was just marked off all the ones that looked kind of interesting, and it was kind of neat to have that. There was a couple, like 2 or 3 days later, that popped up. I was like, oh, I totally forgot about that. So
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great tip for using the app on board too.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, how about do you guys drink?
We do.
Do we do? Okay. Yeah. I guess we. You did say you had a glass of wine of a pal. Where's your favorite place to have a drink on board and just relax?
We have gotten drinks at O'Gill's.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to get a drink while you're sitting out at the pool and the adult only area.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like just sitting out in the sun with a drink in your hand
mm-hmm.
and a book in the other. So
do you guys ever gravitate over to the kids side and watch the Funnel Vision or anything like that, or do you like it up
I do.
Okay.
I love movies. I remember our first cruise. My favorite Disney movie is Lady and the Tramp, and they were playing it at 8:30 in the morning. So I was out there with a sweatshirt and sitting on the chairs and watching the Disney movie, and it was perfect.
Yeah, there's nothing more magical than watching that out there like that, is there?
It's great.
Yeah.
And what's always fascinating to me is I've never had a hard time hearing the Funnel Vision, but then when you go to the other side, you don't hear it at all.
That's true. I never thought about that.
The adult areas are so quiet and so serene.
Uh-huh.
I mean, how they handle the sound is fascinating.
Anything else that you guys like to do on sea days that you'd like to share?
Oh, I did. I think on our last sea day, I did book a facial at the Senses Spa.
Oh, we haven't done that yet. Or been to the spa. How did you like that?
It was so nice. It was so luxurious. The robes are so nice, and I've I've always wanted to check out the rainforest rooms. We've never done that yet, but I've heard that is really nice as well. So that's on my to-do list for next time.
It means you got to go on another cruise, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's way too much to do. You have to go on multiple.
Oh, there is. Well, awesome. Yeah, my wife and I are doing a 3-day in May on the Wonder. And
nice.
That's one of the things, without the kids, that's one of the things we want to do is try and do the rainforest room. So if we do that, I'll have to make sure I talk about that.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we talked about sea days a little bit. I got a bunch of questions for you at the end that I think you're going to like.
Sure.
But how about port adventures? So you guys were going to go to Grand Cayman on this one. How did that day end up?
So we had booked a port excursion. We were going to be on a catamaran, and I think it was called the Reef and Kitawaki Snorkel Sail. Mm-hmm. So you go on a catamaran and you snorkel and see all types of marine wildlife. It was super windy that day, so they actually canceled it the night before. So we went to the port excursion desk, and we were, talking with the cast member just about our different options. A lot of things were booked. It didn't seem like there was anything we really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So we just decided to stay on the ship. I have to say that was probably one of our favorite days. It seems like most of the ship got off at Grand Cayman. So we were at the Quiet Cove pool. Usually on sea days, you can find chairs. They may not be in like the ideal locations, with sun and the great view, but we had kind of our pick of chairs. There's probably, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 people in that area. Mm-hmm. So it was the most relaxing pool day of our trip, and it was so nice.
I kind of wonder, was it kind of like a snow day where like you got all this stuff planned and all of a sudden, boom, you don't have it planned annieanymore, so you can do whatever you want? So it was almost like relaxing because of that. Yeah. It was like, I don't know. I think we would have had to be up early for that port excursion, but we just kind of slept in and wandered over to the pool when we wanted to, and we got a great place to kind of camp out. So it was a great day of not having plans. So then you went into another sea day. The one thing we really haven't touched on is, do you guys like to go to the shows at night, or what kind of things do you guys like to do at night? Do you go to the Broadway type shows, or what do you guys like to do? Yeah, so I love shows. My husband likes them. Fine. So we tend to see all of the shows that are shown in the main theater. Uh-huh. And on the Magic, that's the ship where they have Tangled. So that was fantastic. We really, really liked Tangled. Uh-huh. It was so good. I think the other shows were Twice Charms, which is the Cinderella take on Cinderella story, and the Disney Dreams. And then on our cruise, they had two performers, two sets of performers. They had David and Lehman, who are kind of a magic, they're comedic magicians. They were on America's Got Talent, and they were awesome, super funny. And there was also this guy that sang and played guitar, and he was also, a comedian. So I think they did like they split one of the nights of the cruise. They kind of split that main show time. I think that was the first night. It was like a variety show, and that was a great show that they put on. Did you ever go see them? Like a lot of times they'll do the main shows in the main theater, and then they'll do like another show in the evenings at maybe one of the different bars or whatnot. Did you ever go see them then as well? Yeah, we saw David and Lehman, I think on the Grand Cayman day. Uh-huh. After the main show, they were doing sort of an adults only show, maybe at 10 p.m. or something. And that was really fun. They did some different magic tricks, and it was really fun seeing them kind of in a smaller venue. Uh-huh. And I was volunteered by my table mates as one of the volunteers. So I got to be part of the show, uh-huh, despite my wishes. I mean, it was fun. It was fun. It was a great experience. Yeah, I'm sure it was like a little trepidation at the moment, but once you get through it was probably fun to think back on it. It was so fun. Yeah. Did they have the guards run through the night they did the Tangled show? Did they have them run through the restaurants when you were on it too? I
remember the guards running through, but we did definitely go to O'Gill's, or when they recreate it to be Snuggly Duckling. So they had the guards in there, and that was so fun.
What all do they? Because we're going to be on the Magic this summer, and that's like one of my goals is to go to that finally, because we missed it the last 2 times. But what all do they do that night when they do that?
So I think they had the guards run through, and then they had like a few thugs from the Tangled movie, kind of that are in the Snuggly Duckling, and they do like it's like a Thuggo game, like bingo, but it's really funny. All of these cast members that play the guards and the thugs they're great at improv, so it's really funny, and it's just fun to sit back and watch all of this take place. And the great thing is for that night they do sell these light up cups that look like the lanterns from Tangled.
Oh wow.
So we had to buy a couple of those.
Of course.
And I use them, I use them periodically. It's so fun.
Yeah. Well, so from there you head into the Sea Day and then on to Castaway Cay. So this is your second time on Castaway Cay, right?
Yep.
Have you run the Castaway Cay 5K since you're a runner?
Yes.
What'd you think of that?
I've run it. I loved it. It's so fun. I ran it on both of our cruises. The only tricky thing is my husband's not a runner. He kind of stayed behind on the veranda. He didn't come out to the beach with me when I ran. So the plan was I was going to take the tram back to the area where you get back on the ship, because you kind of have to walk a ways to get to the start and finish line of the 5K.
Yeah, it was a little farther than I thought it was going to be, I guess.
Right.
I've only done it once, but yeah.
I was actually with one of our table mates, and we were trying to figure out the fastest way to get back. And we hopped on a tram, and it actually went the opposite way out to Serenity.
Oh no,
Serenity Cove. So, because we're really hungry. It's probably 10 a.m. or so. And then because I know that Cabanas, I forget what time they closed, but it was, if I would have gone back to our room to take a shower, I would have missed the breakfast at Cabanas. So I actually texted my husband to go up and get me like 7 Mickey waffles and a banana to be healthy. So that was really helpful. But it's kind of tricky if you want to go back and shower and get breakfast, kind of timing all of that out. So if you're a runner and like to run that race, have a breakfast plan.
What did you think of the race itself?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think it can be really hot. So you leave from kind of the area where they have some of the shops, and they have a couple of bars that sell like really fruity drinks, and you go sort of into this loop where you go around it twice, and that's really fun. They've got some nice things to see, and then you go down this runway, and it's pretty far. You take that down to the adults only beach, and then you turn around, and that can get a little hot, I've noticed. But I mean, anytime I can do a free race, especially in a really awesome place like Castaway Cay, I will always do the Castaway Cay 5K.
And you get a cool medal.
Yeah, you get a great medal. It's so fun, and they do change it out. They change the ribbon out year to year.
Oh,
so yeah. So I've got my 2016 and my 2017. So it's great.
That's pretty cool.
I highly recommend it.
And they had like a water station, if I remember. It was like kind of like in the middle, so you went by the same station a couple of different times. So they did have water out there, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes. I think you pass it. You probably pass it 3 times. So that's very, very helpful, because it does get really hot, even at 8:30 in the morning when you start running 8:30, 8:45.
And don't feel like you have to run it. If you just want to get out and walk it too, there are plenty of people that get out and walk it as well. So it's just a great opportunity to get up early and get some exercise after you've been on the ship for a couple of days.
Yeah, and I saw a bunch of families walking it together, parents and kids, and yeah, so it was super fun.
And we got a question recently, or I saw something recently when people are asking, they do, if you have kids, they do open up the kids club on the island early so that as you walk out, you can drop your son or daughter off at the kids club on the island while you run the race. So there's an opportunity too if you have kids, because I think the kids club on the ship aren't open that early. And I'm not even sure when they open on Castaway Cay Day. I think it's later in the evening once the ship's gone in the afternoon. So just kind of a tip for kids or people with kids as well. Cool. So what do you guys like to do in Castaway Cay then? Now that you've been there twice, what's kind of your what do you like to do?
So this time we rented bikes and we biked down the bike path, mm-hmm. And that was really nice. You got some really beautiful views of the ocean and the ship, and just some areas that you really wouldn't go to on foot. And actually, so the bike rental was for the whole day at Castaway Cay. So we were able to keep the bikes to go back and forth to the Serenity Beach, which is the adult-only beach, because it is kind of a ways down. There are trams if you don't rent a bike and you don't want to walk. They do have trams that go from the main beach out to the adults-only beach and back. But it's nice to kind of be on your own schedule and have that flexibility. So we rented bikes. We had some beach time where we just lounged, and they have hammocks, which were so nice.
Oh, those are amazing, aren't they?
They're so great. Yeah, and actually, so our first cruise we were on the Dream, and this cruise we were on the Magic. And I will say that being on a smaller ship, you felt the benefits on Castaway Cay. We noticed we didn't have to go down as far down the beach to find a good place to kind of camp out for the day. That was a nice surprise. We were kind of expecting it to be super packed, but it wasn't as packed as our first cruise. So yeah, we did this. We did the beach for a while, and then we had lunch out there, which was so nice. I think we had fish, and they had corn on the cob, and it's a great outdoor barbecue.
They have a restaurant down by the adults only beach too, right? You don't have to come back to Cookies. That's by the family beach. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. They've got, I think it's called Cookies 2.
Okay.
And I think they've got a few more menu items down there than they do at Cookies. And there's also a bar there by the Cookies 2 restaurant. And they will have, I don't know if they do this on the family beach, but they do have servers, like cast members that will come up and get a drink order and bring you back beverages while you're on the beach, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's a good point. They do have that on the family beach also. I kind of forgot about that they do have some cast members that come around and do that as well, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And then late afternoon we did snorkeling at the family beach.
Okay.
So we rented, let's say, the snorkel masks, the flippers, and the life vest. And we did that with another couple, some of our table mates. And it was so fun. They sink a bunch of, Mickey and Minnie statues. And I think at Walt Disney World or Walt Disneyland, they used to have a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride. And we used to go in submarines, uh-huh. I think. So they sunk one of those submarines out there, and it's kind of turned into like a mini ecosystem where they've got, I think there was an eel in the submarine this time, and a lot of the fish are swimming through it. So it's really fun to explore that area. And I think they've got buoys on top of all of kind of the sunken treasures down there. So that was really, really fun. I've not done a ton of snorkeling, so that was a great experience. Mm-hmm. But one thing I will say is that you do have to swim out pretty far. I don't know if you've snorkeled at Castaway Cay, but you have to swim out pretty far to get to the sunken treasures that Disney offers. I mean, I'm not a great swimmer. I swim fine, but I'm not like a super strong swimmer. So I remember my legs being really tired on the way back in at the end of the day. So keep that in mind if you've got kids. I'm sure a lot of kids are better swimmers than I am, but
yeah, good points. I think it probably changes. I don't know how much the tide affects it, but when we were there, it does go a ways out there. There are lifeguards on basically like little docks that are kind of spaced out there as well. So it's not just lifeguards on the beach. They actually have lifeguards that are out on the water kind of
Right.
watching things. And when we did it, it really wasn't super deep. So I think you could walk a good ways all the way out there, to be completely honest. But you're right. Where all the sunken things are a ways out there. You can see the buoys out there. And we saw a lot of people that, put the snorkel masks on, and they started off, and it was kind of, like I said, it was pretty shallow, so things were getting kicked up. They couldn't really see much. And so they turned around and went back. And I think they missed the opportunity. If they would have just kept going a little further out to
Right.
those buoys, where they would have been able to, see Mickey and Minnie and the submarine and everything like that. So good points on
Yeah.
that. They are kind of a ways out there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Have you ever done like parasailing or any of that type of stuff?
We haven't. And actually, both times, my husband's always like, we should do that one of these days.
Uh-huh.
But both times we've been at Castaway Cay, they've canceled the parasailing because it's been too windy.
Yeah, I think that happens quite a bit. That
Yeah.
yeah, you have to do that early in the morning too, I think. Otherwise the
Right.
wind kicks up. So Castaway Cay, just a magical place.
It's my favorite place. I would love to do one of those double dip cruises where you go twice to Castaway Cay.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? Well, so then you get back on the ship, and unfortunately, that's your last night. What do you guys? What's something that you guys like to do that last night while you're on the ship before you have to get off? Is there
I
anything
think
special?
There's nothing. We don't have like a last night tradition, but I think we always go to the gift shops and make sure we've seen everything. We like to collect. So on each of the ships in the gift shop, there are ornaments that are kind of like the mini replicas of the ship.
Uh-huh.
So we like to get one of those from every ship. So we check out the gift shop, and we always like to just kind of walk around the ship and take it all in, because it's before you know it, you're going to be out in the real world.
Right.
And I mean, the atrium is just so beautiful. So it's nice to spend some time in there.
I think my wife and I like to do just like one last walk up on the top deck, outside at night when it's all lit up. It's just kind of a neat place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I got a bunch of questions for you.
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong answer. Just see what you think here. So you touched on a whole bunch of different things, but how about this one? Picture taken with the characters, or do you guys like to get your pictures taken with the ship backdrop? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Like when you're going onto the ship?
Yeah, well, not with going out to the ship, but like on the formal night. Would you rather have your picture with the character or picture with the captain and the ship on the backdrop?
I'd probably... We don't get a lot of character photos.
Uh-huh.
I would like to, but I think probably the ship backdrop.
Okay.
Or the bronze sculpture.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
In
that's kind of where we like to take pictures.
Yeah, I like that one too. My kids are afraid of the characters, so
Oh no!
I know my oldest, he'd watch like Friday the 13th or some zombie movie when he was younger. But boy, you put him in front of somebody, just put him in front of Mickey Mouse, and he wants nothing to do with it.
Oh.
So, okay, how about this one? Would you rather meet the captain or the cruise director if you had a chance to have dinner?
Probably cruise director.
Okay.
They always seem like so much fun.
Yeah, they're kind of. Who do you remember who your cruise directors were by any chance? Have you ever had Clayton?
I have had Clayton.
Okay.
I don't know which cruise, but that name sounds super familiar.
Yeah, he does the funny dance. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that was on the Magic this past time then.
Yeah. I think he was, because it was funny because he was on the Wonder when we went to Alaska, and then we got on the Magic this last cruise, and we start here. They're doing announcements. My wife is like, "That's Clayton." Is that is that like taped or something like that, or is he the cruise director again? It turned out he was the cruise director again. So yeah,
That's great.
yeah, he's a character. So okay, so
That's
now
so fun.
you've been on the Classics and the Dream Class.
Yep.
Which one's your favorite, Classic or Dream Class? Which one are you going on?
I like Dream Class. It's tough because I think both have pros and cons.
Uh-huh.
It feels like on the Dream Class ships you have a little bit more to do.
Okay.
There's mini golf on the top deck, which is really fun. My husband's a big golfer, so this is kind of the closest he can get to golfing on the ship. So yeah, but the mini golf is pretty fun. It's also we don't tend to spend a lot of time like watching movies in our room, but and the Dream Class ships, they have all of the Disney movies on demand. So it was super fun. Like if we're getting ready to go out to dinner, we would just, pop on Hercules or Aladdin. On the other ships, I think they've got like six six or so channels with the movies kind of just playing. But it's nice to be able to just say, oh, what's the Disney movie we haven't seen in forever, and just pop that on.
That's kind of neat. I didn't know they did that on the Dream Class one. So
yeah,
that's cool. Okay, how about this one? Palo or Cabanas?
Palo.
Yeah. I love Cabanas, but the food in Palo is amazing, isn't it?
So good.
All right, how about Aqua Duck or Aqua Dunk?
Oh, I've done both. Aqua Dunk freaks me out. I mean, I love it, but I'm not like, I'll go on whatever roller coaster you put in front of me, but involve water and kind of you on your own, and I got a little bit more cautious. Probably Aqua Duck, because it's cool. You go off the side of the ship, and definitely Aqua Duck.
Is it fast?
Not as fast as Aqua Dunk.
Okay.
But it's still fun.
Yeah. All right, one last one. What about Star Wars Day at Sea or Marvel Day at Sea?
Those both probably fall into my husband's camp.
Uh-huh.
He's a big Marvel and Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
But I think probably if I had to choose, Star Wars.
Star Wars? Yeah.
Star Wars, yeah.
I was in Hollywood Studios a couple weeks ago, and the stormtroopers were walking around, and I just get the biggest kick out of watching them, and then like the way they interact with the kids and stuff. So I think that would be fun to see that.
I would love to be on board for a Star Wars Day at Sea.
Okay, last one then. How about Funnel Vision movie or movie in the Walt Disney Theater?
Oh, Funnel Vision movie.
Yeah,
for sure. To be outside and be able to look over and see the ocean, you can't beat it.
No, definitely. Well, cool. Well, thanks for playing along there. So,
of course.
Yeah. So then, unfortunately, as all things do, you come to the last day and you have debarkation. How did the debarkation day go for you guys?
I think if I remember, there was a slight delay in getting the ship cleared. Uh-huh. But I mean, that just meant a little bit of extra time on the ship, so I was fine with that. So yeah, we got off the ship, and we had a long time until our flight. I think our flight was in the evening. So we were looking for something to do that was, fairly easy to get to and close by. So we spent the day at the Perez Art Museum, and that's actually right off of the port. And if you've never been, if people have, a day that you need to kill in Miami, that is a great experience. It's modern art. It's not a super big museum, so I think you could probably get through it in a couple of hours. Uh-huh. And they have beautiful grounds outside of it that you can just walk around. It's kind of like modern art on the inside and modern art on the outside. Uh-huh. And there's a cool cafe that I think we had lunch at. But it was as we were walking through on the top level of the museum, you could look out the window and see the Disney magic, and it just killed me, because I was like, we woke up on that ship. Why aren't we there right now?
There is something so special about seeing those ships, isn't there?
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
they're just gorgeous.
I love all the cruise ships in general, but there's something special about the Disney ones, isn't there?
Yeah, totally.
Well, what a great way to end your trip. And then you guys, did you Uber back to the airport then from there?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty easy.
Well, what a great vacation. So before we wrap it up today, do you have any tips that you'd want to offer that we haven't talked about that you can think of for maybe somebody who hasn't tried Disney, they don't have kids? What would you say to them to get them to go on a Disney cruise? Or do you have any tips for them, I guess?
Yeah. So two things that we didn't touch on. There is, and I don't know if you've had a chance to take part in this. There is an adult show, one of like the smaller stage areas, called Match Your Mate.
Oh yeah.
And it's very much like the Newlywed Game. Uh-huh. And it is so funny. Like I probably haven't laughed that hard since. They had one of the cast members she was amazing. She was emceeing it, and it's much more of an adult show than I think there's like a family version that they also offer on Disney Cruise Line, but I can't recommend that enough. It is such a fun time. So definitely check that out. Even if you have kids, just put them in the kids club. I'm sure it's not that easy.
Oh no, I think it is for most kids, but they love being there. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other tip I've got two kind of tips for anyone. So my husband and I, we're not big soda drinkers. We love, we drink a ton of water. But the cups at the, like right outside of Cabanas at the soda fountain, they're pretty small. So we would have had to, keep refilling our water cups, I don't know, 5 or 10 times like throughout the day. So we ended up buying some like big Tervis reusable water bottles. Mm-hmm. And that was a lifesaver. We would just kind of fill them up and drink it throughout the day. So that was awesome. And a great keepsake after your cruise. Also, so outside of the Walt Disney Theater, there's that concession stand where they sell, sodas and candies and popcorn. Mm-hmm. And I highly recommend, if you're a popcorn fan, if you buy the popcorn bucket, I think it's, $7, $8, you have really cheap refills throughout your entire cruise.
I've never heard of that.
I think it's like $1.50 every time you refill it.
Wow.
So I had popcorn every And I have heard, it's a rumor, I've not tried this, but I've heard someone say, maybe on a blog, that if you bring your popcorn bucket back on your next cruise, that you can get the reduced rate refills.
Really?
Don't quote me on that. I may try it on our next cruise. So the last thing I need is another popcorn bucket, because we have 2.
Uh-huh.
So I might as well try it. But I will report back.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Those are great tips, and I've never heard the popcorn thing. I wonder if you can use it at the where the small movie theater is as well. They sell popcorn out there. I bet you could use it there too. Huh?
Yeah, you can. I think it's at the movie theater and the Walt Disney Theater.
Yeah, and great tips on the Tervis cup too, because our family doesn't really drink soda very much, so we've been the family with all the paper cups walking back. So we're gonna have to do that next time as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to share your experiences with our audience. So appreciate you coming on, and I want to wish you the best of luck as you continue training for Princess here in a month or so.
Thank you so much. It was so fun being on.
Definitely. And if you're up for it, we'd love to have you come back when you get back from your 4-day cruise on the Disney Dream.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Awesome. Well, have a great night, and we will talk to you next time. Well, that's going to be a wrap for our show today. I really want to thank Jessica once again for coming on and sharing her and her husband's experience as they sailed the Disney Magic through the Western Caribbean last winter. And once again, I want to wish her the best of luck as she gets ready for her Princess Half Marathon later on here in the month of February. If you are enjoying what you're hearing with the show, we would love it if you would take the time to share it with somebody else that you might think would enjoy it. And if you would like to come on and share your experiences sailing with Disney Cruise Line, or experiences with Adventures by Disney, and especially river cruising with Adventures by Disney, we'd love to hear from you. You can always reach out to us on our Facebook page. That's DCL Podcast on Facebook, or you can reach me on Twitter at DCL Podcast, and you can also reach Christy on Twitter as well at PackYR Pixie Dust on Twitter. So just kind of a fun numbers thing. I'm kind of a numbers geek. I don't really let that out too much, but to date the show a little bit, the Disney company put out their first quarter earnings for 2018, and in it they said that Disney Cruise Line once again had a good impact on those earnings, but that they were going to, because the Magic's coming into a dry dock period here in the next month or so. I'm not sure the exact dates, but because of that 14-day dry dock where it will not be in service, they're going to lose roughly about just a little over $20 million. So that works out, if you do the rough math on it, just about a little under $1.5 million a day that they lose when that ship is out of service. Now, I know these are just rough numbers, and of course there's costs associated when they're operating the ship with the employees, the gas, and everything else that goes on with running a ship, but I thought that was kind of interesting. At least for the Magic, it brings in about $1.5 million a day for the Disney company. So kind of some fun numbers just to bounce around out there if anybody's interested. So once again, thanks for coming back to all our listeners and listening to us. And we will be back next week with our first show on DCL 101, in which Christy and I talk about kind of how to plan for that first cruise and how to book it. So if you have an adventure or a sailing date coming up between now and then, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and happy sailing as you head out on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.